The case against Brett Kavanaugh is falling apart as people scrutinize the record and the statements of all three accusers in the case, beginning with the first accuser, Christine Blasey Ford. Christine Blasey Ford might very well be guilty of perjury. When she was testifying in front of Congress, she said under oath that she has never discussed how to take a polygraph test with anyone else besides her lawyers. Her lawyer, Deborah Katz, was recommended to her by Dianne Feinstein and oversaw her own polygraph test. Did she ever discuss taking a polygraph test with anyone else? Christine Blasey Ford said never. It turns out that that is not true, according to Christine Blasey Ford's ex-boyfriend, who said that she did indeed coach a woman on how to take a polygraph test. Legal experts are saying that this is an open and shut case for perjury. Now, we obtained photographs from her Yakety Yak yearbooks at the University of North Carolina, 1986, 1987, 1988. They show massive, rampant drinking and beer bongs on campus by the students. Christine Blasey Ford was a member of the Kappa Delta sorority and a former classmate of Christine Blasey Ford. D.C. McAllister said that during her time at UNC, Christine Blasey Ford would drink at a bar called He's Not Here in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, and hook up with guys on Henderson Street. Wow. Hooking up with guys on Henderson Street. That sounds like a novel. She wore a pussy hat to a liberal march. She has Google interns living in her house. They come in through her second door. Christine Blasey Ford has come under a great deal of scrutiny. She has no evidence, by the way, whatsoever for any of her claims, and it looks like the FBI investigation is going to be wrapped up without proving that Christine Blasey Ford was telling the truth about anything. Debbie Ramirez is the second accuser. Debbie Ramirez said that Brett Kavanaugh exposed himself. Now, it turns out that Debbie Ramirez, and we were the first ones to report this, she spoke at a PFLAG event. So she is a left-wing activist. She's the co-vice chair of the Safe House Progressive Alliance for Nonviolence. And she wrote an op-ed in a local Colorado newspaper advocating against the word sissy. The word sissy was being put on some T-shirts for a 5K run, you know, don't be a sissy, finish the run. And she said, that's offensive. Don't use the word sissy. So that's Debbie Ramirez, okay? Let's go on to the third accuser, Julie Swetnick. Oh, Michael Avenatti's client. She has been comic relief throughout this entire process. And wow, what a gift to Brett Kavanaugh. Julie Swetnick. And Newsweek actually gave us credit for being the first ones to report that she has liens, a federal tax lien, a lien against her house. She's sued the state of Maryland on multiple occasions. Her former employer sued her for defamation, claiming that she waged a crazy campaign against them. She lied about going to Johns Hopkins. Her ex-boyfriend got a restraining order against her for domestic violence. Now, here's the latest on Julie Swetnick. So Julie Swetnick says that Brett Kavanaugh was involved in some gang rape parties. Well, then she changed her story in her interview with NBC and said, you know, there's no evidence that there were any gang rapes going on. There's no evidence that Brett Kavanaugh was spiking people's punch, as she initially claimed. And she gave a sworn statement to Michael Avenatti claiming these things. So it's very clear that Julie Swetnick has also engaged in perjury. So anyway, here's Dennis Ketterer, okay? He's a meteorologist, a weatherman on TV, and he said that Julie Swetnick came up to him and started hitting on him. As I sat alone at the end of the bar, Julie approached me. She was alone, quite beautiful, well-dressed, and no drink in hand. Consequently, my initial thought was that she might be a high-end call girl because at the time I weighed 350 pounds, so what would someone like her want with me? Now, so Ketterer was a local TV celebrity. He thought that this woman was only approaching him because he was locally famous. Now here's what he says next. As we shared conversations, my lasting impression of Julie was that she was smart, fun, and funny, but she was also an opportunist. I felt she only had interest in my 350-pound self because I was on television and well known. During a conversation about our sexual preferences, things got derailed when Julie told me that she liked to have sex with more than one guy at a time. In fact, sometimes with several at one time. She wanted to know if that would be okay in our relationship. I asked her if this was just a fantasy of hers. She responded that she first tried sex with multiple guys while in high school and still liked it from time to time. She brought it up because she wanted to know if I would be interested in that. So the lady who falsely said that Brett Kavanaugh was involved in gang rape parties, it turns out that she likes to have sex with more than one man at the same time, according to this meteorologist. Now, folks, I don't want to talk about this stuff, but this is what Michael Avenatti and the mainstream media puts into our political discourse day in and day out. And so as journalists, this becomes the news cycle. And we have to report on these kinds of things and these kinds of hypocrisies. Well, it looks like, very clearly, the entire case has been discredited, thanks to the work of independent media. And that's why the New York Times and the mainstream media hates independent media so much. That's why they're trying to censor us. And it's disgusting, by the way, absolutely disgusting, the way that these social media companies just censor and delete articles by independent news organizations. Let's take Julie Swetnick off of the screen because her 15 minutes of fame is up. And thank you, by the way, to Julie Swetnick on behalf of the independent media because she has made for a very hilarious news cycle. Michael Avenatti is so desperate to get in on this controversy that he ended up really discrediting the entire case. And the other two accusers, of course, are also discredited. So here's what we need to ask ourselves. Why is it that these activists do these things so poorly sometimes? If a halfway intelligent person had been running this operation instead of Michael Avenatti and Deborah Katz and Dianne Feinstein, it might actually have been effective. But this was just absurdity. It became so obvious on day one that Brett Kavanaugh never did anything wrong. Why do they do it so poorly? And on some of these things, and this is true, they actually don't cover their tracks. They actually let it be known that these are activist efforts because the message is there's nothing you can do about it. The message is we control the mainstream media and we decide what truth is. So even though we're openly, blatantly lying, that's okay because we decide what goes on your television and in your newspapers. And if you say it's not true and you step out of line, then we'll censor you. And we won't let you post the truth on Facebook. What are you going to do then? You're going to take a bullhorn and go out on the street and tell people that we're lying? Good luck to you, buddy. This is a message to their own followers, their own left-wing supporters, that you don't have to tell the truth because if we all get together and gang up and all tell the same lie at the same time, then we have power because we run the media. That's what we've come to. They want half the country to just blatantly lie about very important things, like whether a Supreme Court justice raped someone. And they don't care if it's known that they're activists hiding in plain sight because they know that the media is only going to report what they tell them to say. That's all I have to say for now. Keep reading bigleaguepolitics.com.